What if one simple, ancient question could unravel the foundation of modern unbelief? This is the story of a famous intellectual confrontation. You're about to witness a clash where eloquent deflection meets a persistent, foundational query. To persuade a moral person to commit an immoral act, some argue, you need religion. But let's reverse the inquiry. If a divine creator does not exist, what is the reason for existence itself? You'll see a pattern emerge. A question is met not with an answer, but with a skillful retreat into narrative or insult, creating an emotional satisfaction that masks an intellectual void. With that framework, let's begin. I'd like to pose a question once highlighted by a philosopher. In a universe without God, what is the source of being? Why is there something rather than nothing? We share a naval background. Where I'm from, there's a tale about a young officer facing his final examination. A panel of admirals presents a scenario: your vessel is anchored near a lee shore. A gale is driving you toward the rocks. What is your first action? The candidate replies, would raise more canvas and turn the helm hard to starboard, hoping to pull away. Very well, they say. But the storm intensifies, and the rocks draw closer. What now? I would add yet more sail and hold the course, he insists. But the wind is a hurricane force. The cliffs are upon you. What is your final command? Frustrated, an admiral finally interjects, and just where do you propose to find all this extra sail? The young officer calmly responds, from the same place you found all this extra wind. The point of the story is clear, but does it actually answer the question? You either accept a creation premise, or you do not. I must confess, I am among those described by the philosopher Pascal as constitutionally unable to believe. Include me in that group. I do not accept a creator. I do not believe we are overseen. I do not believe a conscious being initiated the cosmos. And as for how it began, I don't know. I don't know any physicist who claims to know, and I am not a physicist. If we were having this discussion 2 centuries ago, you would be urging me to accept a savior, and the concept of a cosmic beginning would be foreign to you. You cannot persuade me. What does that have to do with the, I'll just state this plainly, you cannot convince me there is any link between your religious conviction and observable scientific fact. I'm not here to debate cosmological physics. I'm not qualified. So, you have no explanation for the universe arising from non-existence? No more than you do. All right. Let's proceed. If all spatial dimensions, all material substance, and time itself had a commencement, then the cause must necessarily be transcendent, beyond them. You admit you don't comprehend how it happened, and I concede the same. This is crucial. In his writing, the prominent atheist states clearly on page 70 that he knows it functions without a God. He says, it works without that assumption. So, how does it function without that premise? No, I believe you are citing my citation of a renowned astronomer. Is that not correct? Page 70. It works. The astronomer said it operates without that hypothesis. Yes. Here is what I wrote. Critically, we can now do this while dropping, or, if you insist, retaining, the idea of God. But in either case, the theory works without that assumption. So again, how does it work without it? You'll notice I first said you may keep the idea if you wish. It adds no explanatory power. The model functions as well without the assumption as it does with it. How does it function without? I am referencing the astronomer who, when showing a mechanical model of the heavens to a ruler, was asked, but where is the deity in this? He replied, Your Majesty, it works without that assumption. I am merely echoing him, adding that you can retain the notion if you like. You have not convinced me, nor this audience, that you possess any greater insight into cosmic origins than they do. The question was posed, without God, why is there existence? No direct answer was given. Instead, we received a reframing, a parabolic, almost platitudinal tale about wind and sail. This is classic reductionism. It focuses solely on mechanism while utterly ignoring agency. It is like claiming a car engine is fully explained by detailing the combustion process. That is the how. It does not address the why. To explain the why, you must introduce the engineer, the agent. You require both mechanism and agency for a complete explanation. Why does this engine exist? How did it come to be? This is where the concept of God provides explanatory power for the reality we observe. Let's continue. Sir, would you care to pose a question? Yes. I'd ask what kind of believer he is. And who, in his view, qualifies when many claim the title? I am a non-denominational believer. I hold that anyone who trusts in the sacrificial death and resurrection of Jesus for redemption belongs. It is that simple. So, distinctions like Catholic or Mormon don't matter to you? Well, Mormons do not affirm the core tenet I just stated. Their theology centers on works. With Catholics, there is debate. A recent pope has said no, it is not works-based. So, fine. May I rephrase a question differently, very crisply? Be brief. Imagine a child born in Saudi Arabia today. Would you prefer that child be raised in a fundamentalist Islamic tradition or as an atheist? An atheist. Absolutely. I agree with you there. Good. Thank you. You wouldn't? Wouldn't I? You were serious in asking? Second question. Please be brief. And the response, equally brief. You've listed moral objections to Christian faith. From where do you derive your morality? If we are merely particles in motion, what is moral truth? You've listed moral objections to Christian faith. From where do you derive your morality? If we are merely particles in motion, what is moral truth? Who says we are merely particles in motion? You are a materialist. What else is there? We are highly evolved primates with an innate need for, and recognition of, human solidarity. You may term that morality. I would. Left to their own devices, good people will generally do good. Wicked people will do ill. But to make a good person commit evil, you employ religion. What defines good? What is its source? Sir, I believe that would be a third question, we agreed on two. I'm attempting to have him answer the question. My sail comes from the same source as your wind. Even in his dismissal of objective morality, he references serial killers, implicitly invoking a moral standard. He labels them evil as opposed to good. In doing so, he appeals to a third standard, a higher measure against which human actions are judged. To crystallize this, consider the words of C.S. Lewis. He put it succinctly, my argument against God was that the universe seemed cruel and unjust. But how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was Lewis comparing the universe to when he called it unjust? So, to our atheist interlocutor, what are you measuring the actions of a killer against when you deem them unjust? What is that referencing, if not a higher, objective standard? That moral law, we contend, must originate from a moral lawgiver. That is the foundational argument. You cannot call a line crooked without a concept of straightness. This debate reveals more than answers. It shows the terrain of belief and doubt is navigated with stories, questions, and the deep human need for coherence. With that, thank you for engaging with this complex dialogue. Wherever you are in your own journey of thought, you are welcome here. If this exploration of deep questions resonated with you, please support Winds of Thought by liking this video. It truly helps the channel. What is the most compelling argument on either side of this debate, in your view? Let's continue the conversation below.